Okay, David Paul here. I'm just going to make a little video on something that came up yesterday. I've become quite friendly with a couple of guys who keep bees, and speaking Portuguese to them yesterday, it sort of endears me to them, which is jolly nice. Made it worthwhile. So anyway, we came along, and the guy who owns this property that I'm standing on, he said to me, was I interested in buying his property? So, yes I am, because it's adjacent to mine and I want more land. Unfortunately, there'll be a gap between me and this piece of land, but it doesn't matter because I can just walk between the two. It's only a matter of about 50, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 feet. And then at some time I'll buy the piece of land in between. But anyway, here I am, up above the road, which is next to my house. My house is over here on the left, and I've just walked up the hill. I shouldn't have done that. I should have started videoing before I walked up the path. So let's walk back down towards where I originally walked up. So there's the road, and there's the pathway. Okay, so there's the pathway, and you can drive a car up that, and I could flatten it a bit more and tart it up a bit and widen it slightly there so that you can get a decent vehicle up it. And so that gives me a service road. Now once you've done that, of course, I've got an unlimited capability of parking vehicles up here, which is jolly nice for what I got in mind. So let's turn around and have a look at the extent of this land, which is being offered to sell to me. Now, on the day that he made this offer, he had been strimming this place with a strimmer for like 2 days long. That wouldn't be such a problem to me because I wouldn't do it all in one go, but he has to come down here. He doesn't live here, so he has to come down here and trim the entire property in one great big batch. What these guys do is they come down to this property and they go to those beehives over there and they empty the honey out, load it all up, tidy up or whatever, and do a few things they need to do, and then they just clear off for maybe a month. So that's all they're using this land for. So there's a bunch of hives there. The guys are making money out of the hives. That's good, but I don't imagine they're making a lot of money out of that. And it would suit his purposes better if he was to sell this. Now, over there, there's a big terrace there. These terraces, they possibly start out flat, but they tend to, over time, round off through the erosion. Any terrace that I ever get my hands on, I'm gonna level the damn thing, because they're so much more useful. Level ground is much more useful. That does not mean that you cannot use the front edge of a terrace where those stones are. Because if you imagine, suppose you were growing peas and beans and things like that, you could actually grow them up the wall like that. So that area would be entirely utilised, the terrace would be utilised as well. You could do a lot of growing, which is not entirely what I'm intending to do here. What I would do here is set up a permaculture place. Wow, I just realised something. Oh my God, I didn't realise that was there. I didn't take it all in yesterday. I just took in the size of the place. If you look up there, from where I'm standing at this bottom corner, there's a little copse of cork oaks. Now, what's good about that is they're already grown, so they already exist. So there's a bunch of wee cork oaks that can be utilised as a harvest. You know, something to get. And at the back, there's all this gorse here. I don't know where the boundary finishes, but probably about 10 feet on there. I'm sure it does. It finishes 10 feet on. So I would get rid of this gorse if it's on my new property, or my proposed new property. basically my decision on this is I'm having it, you know. But what I'm not doing is I'm not going to pay the earth for it because I just don't have the money. So I bought my house under a deal which in the United States is called owner finance purchasing. And basically you just set up a contract with a lawyer and you just pay the guy money every month and you buy the house over a period of about 3 years in installments. Now if you default on the thing, you're in trouble because you are you're going to lose it, you know. So I'm not going to default on it, and I'll maybe take life insurance to cover me on that mortgage. Yeah, I think that's the thing I better do, because I don't want to leave my kids exposed to my expenses when I die, and then I'm going to leave the property to them, or anybody I leave the property to, if it's covered during the period of the purchase. Okay, so we got those cork hooks there anyway. So this owner financing deal is a thing that exists in Portuguese law. We're looking right down towards the road there now, and it is. I heard that it wasn't often used, you know. A lot of people don't know about it, and certainly not foreigners like me. So it's a thing to bear in mind. If you're of a mind, if you have the idea that you want to buy a property in Portugal and you just haven't got the money, well, there's your opportunity. Set up one of these owner financing deals. And because it suits the owner, because they're selling the property because they need some income. And then what they do is immediately they go onto a payment scheme for 3 years, so they've got an immediate income of 1/366th of the value of the property. This is all mine, all mine. Right the way back, I think that cork oak's mine. These cork oaks will be mine. As you go further back, there's a neighbour at the back here. Now that, all those buildings that face back onto my property are kind of outhouses and things, you know. It's that, so people are not living in that bit of the house, so that if I do anything annoying like having barbecues and making a noise or whatever, that's not going to bother them. Anyway, that's an impossibility to bother anyone around here, because the size of the place is so vast I can just go to the other end. Okay, so that's that. I'm up here at the top of the property, walking past the main bulk of the oak trees. It's unfortunate one oak tree has fallen over, because what do you do with that? Do you cut it down, or do you just keep it? Well, I think you got to keep it, because the opportunity there's an opportunity there for further harvests. Just plant a replacement. Ironically, okay, so all of this is mine as well, and somewhere here, I think it's where this like track thing is the end of the property, and then you head on down here. Now, in terms of farms, this is not a huge farm. It's not a farm, but it's certainly a very substantial small holding, and the whole thing faces south, so that the productivity can be higher. I know it's hot in the summer, but you got to bear in mind that you're going to have winter here and the light level goes down. But if you're facing south, that's helpful to you if you want to grow things. Loads and loads and loads and loads of olive trees. Plenty olive. I'll have more olives and more olive oil than I will ever use personally, so that's something to sell. Unfortunately, I can't give it to my family because they can't take it home, but they can certainly, when you come down here, tuck in. Okay, so we're heading down towards the bottom there, and there's a sort of stone wall thing there. Let's go down. Let's do it all. So my sort of philosophy in life is to just do something, you know, just do something, and it leads to something else. These people that say, oh, they can't do this, can't get a job, can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other, oh, the system is all against them, and everything's stitched up now and you can't do anything. I'm not of that mentality. I've come to this house and I'm hacking away at cement and working all day on that thing in filth, and but it's moving forward, and it's led to this. It's led to this opportunity. Now, I go and stick this on the internet, and everybody says, "Well, hey, I'll buy that. I'll nick in and I'll buy that." But here's the twist, and here's how the plan worked for me. It's that it's useless, because it's only any use if you already have a house. In Portugal, you need a registered house. It has to be registered as a house, or it has a habitation license, or it's a registered habitation prior to 1953. My lawyer says 51, but I'm sure it's 53. Either way, I've got that. My house is 1937, so it's well in. Okay, perhaps not such a good idea walking past these beehives, but I'll walk round the back and I'll try and avoid these dudes. I don't want to upset these fellas. They're quite peaceful bees, they don't harm anybody. So I'm going to come up with a good deal for the fella with the bees. Nice smell. That's Portugal for you, full of lovely perfumey smells and pine trees and peach tree blossom and all sorts. Okay, so now we've gone round the entire property and we're in the centre. Okay, so the plan, my plan is I'm going to try and get this guy to let me have an owner finance deal on this property, and I'm not paying anywhere near the amount of money that I paid on my house, because the house is the big tamale. Land is cheap in Portugal, rough rural land, but I'm not going to pay as much as I did on the house, and I could handle the mortgage. I've paid the damn thing for 3 years, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have something which may be half the size of the mortgage, so I'll still be stuck with a mortgage, but I'll start making some money off other enterprises, and I'll carry on teaching. I'll have to teach in order to finance this, but it's worth it, because you know, when the teaching's over and you finally come here, you've got all of this. I think there comes a point when I've paid everything off. That is the point at which I start to need to be here in Portugal permanently and working on things on this, because this is the enterprise that's going to pay off the most in terms of like quality of life, just being here, and also financially, I think, as well, because I only teach in short bursts of a few months. But oh, there's that view again. Yes, so I must mention this. This is one reason why it's so awesome as well. You got that view, man. That's just there, you know. It's just yours. I own that mountain. not literally, but you walk out every day and you look at that mountain. Every day I walk out of my house, I look at that mountain all the time, down in the valley there. Up here, it's even more, oh my God, it's even more spectacular. So my plan with this is to convert it into a permaculture place. So it'll feed me and give me all sorts of nice things like timber as well. I'm not going to grow any eucalyptus trees. I'm going to grow Prunus lusitanica, the Portuguese laurel, which is a native tree of Portugal. So everything here will become native all of a sudden, and it'll just revert back to native forest, and it'll be full of wildlife because they'll stick boxes up and bat boxes and this and that and the other and everything, and that's that. So another view of that side again. I wanted to leave this till last. Now I'm going to explain what is not a house. I'm sure if you're all into watching videos on Portugal, you will realise that, oh, I've just discovered something amazing. This is not a house. It's cute. I mean, it is so damn cute. It's an agricultural building, and man, it is really, really cute. And it's got these tiles, which are these are a Portuguese tile. And I call them Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends tiles. The style of Portugal is in the style of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. So if you want to watch that cartoon and then say to yourself, is this thing that I'm going to buy, is it in the style? Would it fit well in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? And if it does look like that, then that's the thing you need to buy. Buy that thing, whatever it is, a chair or a table. Okay, so what's happened is, in the village I've had a donation of an entire roof. It's all for me, and it is of the roof style, which is this one. Okay, the Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends style. And here is a roof style. People often call them thigh tiles because they used to say that they made them on the thigh. Like, that's baloney. You'd have to have very long legs and also a very weird shaped thigh. They did it on a wooden former. But anyway, there they are. And that's the ones I've got on my normal roof down on the house. And I have also had a donation of those. So I've got 3,000 of those plus an entire house roof of those. So I can retile everything you can think of and start even building an extension to my house and tile that all free gratis because I've got so many tiles. And once these people don't want them anymore, well, that's it. Okay, so what we have here is a sort of mucking around with bees thing place. Racks for wine, these terracotta things for putting wine in. If I got that with the house, I'd make a feature of them. I'd cement them in somewhere. And this is it, right? So this is a small agricultural building. This particular room of it is about 10 feet by 10 feet, and you can't live in it. But if you wanted a workshop, then it's just dandy. Now, I don't know if I can see in here. Is the door open or is the door closed? I don't know. Now, will the camera adjust? Okay, what we have here is a bit of an oddity. Now, this thing's about 20 feet by 10 feet. And in the corner there is a fireplace. So the idea is that you would be working on the farm and you would visit a place like this and you would stay the night or something like that, and you would have a fire and you would light the fire and you could stay here. That's the purpose of this thing, and it's not intended as a permanent abode. You're not supposed to live here. This crappy cart thing, I think I'd fix it up and make a feature of it. God knows what I would do with it. I haven't the foggiest idea. But this roof has been redone. Oh wow, that's interesting. He's redone it in concrete beams. So that there is going to last till hell freezes over. And not only that, it's been whether they're the original, probably not the original tiles, these are probably newer. But they have been put in, and they are quite newish looking on the rear. So there's a discontinuity with the tiles on the other part of the building and this. So that tells me that this place has been renovated a little bit to improve it. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we have a room here that you could actually turn into a sort of tiny house thing. Just because you can't stay in it all the time doesn't mean that you couldn't use it as an occasional place to stay in while you were working. And what I would do is I'd tart this up. It wouldn't take a lot of doing. I'd insulate that roof with cork slabs, which you don't even have to cover because it looks beautiful. And I'd put a proper fire in there, like a wood-fired stove, and that's that. Now there are a couple of barrels here. This is obviously something to do with the winemaking history of this place. You know, they would have perhaps been, oh wow, perhaps been a vineyard here. Nothing to stop me doing that. If any of my plans received opposition by the local council, I would simply plant the place up with vegetation and whatever, like vines or vegetables, fruits, that kind of thing. So that's a thing that they wouldn't object to, and that would be that. So this is it. This is my new addition to my home. So either way, you stop me doing what I'm going to do, well, I'll do a different thing. You don't want me doing that, I'll do the other thing. Whatever it is, even if it's as bad as just keeping the place for cork oaks, you know, we'll have a place to hang out and have a barbecue and do things. Now my plan with the beehives is what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to them, during the period, I don't know if I mentioned this in this video, but during the period of this owner financed purchasing deal, what we'll do is you can leave your beehives here, just leave them here and come along and collect your honey and do that for 3 years until the deal is finally, the land is completely paid off and it's mine, and that's the end of that. And then he gets a good deal because for 3 years he's getting an income. He sells his land, which is problematical to him, and he also gets an income off the bees. Now, what I said about this house, right? Because this is not a registered habitation, you can't live in it. But there is nothing to stop a person coming to Portugal, buying a house with a little building like this on it, and then doing a little barn conversion on it. I would strongly advise against it. It's okay for me to do that, but like not as a starter outer, because the thing is, you're coming to Portugal and you're chancing it that you're going to get permission. You could apply for building permission to turn this into a tiny house, and they could say yes or no. And if they said no, you could appeal it, and you could wait years, and you could do this and that and the other. But it doesn't matter if you've already got a property and you've already got a home where you live. You can string this process out for ages, or just quit. It doesn't matter, because you've already got somewhere to live. And 10 to 1, I will bet you that I would get permission for this, because they want people in this village. They're running short of population, and they're quite amenable to ideas, as long as you're reasonable with them. And a number one thing I would suggest to anyone coming to Portugal, if you speak Portuguese, man, it opens doors. It opens doors. I've always found that if you go to countries and you speak their language, it certainly worked in the Philippines for me, people's attitudes completely change towards you. And I would think in Portugal it's even more pronounced here. In the countryside, very few people speak English. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn to speak Portuguese in Portugal, or you're going to have to learn to live with a very isolated kind of life. With a limited number of friends drawn from the English-speaking community, when you could have some amazing friends. I got some amazing pals here, you know, that I would have never had access to. So that's what I'm saying, speak Portuguese. Anyway, this here, look, fruit on the trees, apples ripe on the tree, there for the picking. And Portugal's like this. All over the place there are properties with fruit hanging off the trees and dropping on the ground because there's nobody there to eat them. Now I'm not going to nick it because this guy might actually be coming up here to pick them up. But what I will do is, I think I saw on the ground, I think I saw one apple. We call them macas here. There it is. All right. I was going to pick that up, and am I going to eat that? Oh, I'll tell you what that is. That's not an apple. That's a pear. I'm going to put that in my pocket and see if it turns into something nice and soft and delicious. But if I eat that, it will be awesome, because the fruit here is awesome. Around the back of my house I've got a pear tree. I think I'd better start investigating and get the fruit off it and eat that before I depart, which is in about 26 days from now. I have got the opportunity to delay a bit longer, but I think I had better not, because I got to get established again in England, ready to start teaching again. So there you go. One last look at the view. Oh my God. I never imagined, in all my dreams, I never imagined I'd live in such a beautiful place, and also own it. I own all these mountains in effect because I get to look at them every day. If I owned these mountains, I would just look at them every day, you know. So in effect, I own all these mountains, and nobody else can do this because they can't live here, because this is where my house is. And they had the opportunity to buy it. It stood, you know, they cannot complain. It has stood empty for 55 years. So this is depopulation in Portugal, and now we're repopulating. But if you do come here, be nice to the land, you know. Don't get into this damned eucalyptus business, and be nice to the land and bring it back to life, you know. Bring the fertility back. Get into organic farming. Restorative agriculture. One day, I hope that forest across there will all be gone. It's a tall order because, you know, people are making a lot of money off the eucalyptus, but I would like to see that all back to laurel and oak. But what can you say? I suppose I'd have to buy it and plant it up. That's the only way I can do it. Maybe I'm going to have to buy all of Portugal to get rid of all the eucalyptus trees and replant the laurel and oak forests of Portugal. This must have been an awesome landscape in the past. Absolutely incredible. Never seen a wild boar here, but apparently you don't want to, because the big vicious sods, and the females are the worst with young. So if I ever see a wild boar, give her a wide berth, him and her a wide berth. Okay, we're now down at the bottom of the hill, and now we're looking back towards my house, and you might notice I've done a little bit more chipping on the front, so it's slowly turning into something that looks like a nice looking house, because, you know, when I started out it was hideous. Let's have a bit closer look. See if I can pan in. I'll do a separate video on the house. There you go. So there you go. More More chipping off. I'm taking that door off so that I can get access downstairs, and I'll put that back when I go. All that top plaster stuff's got to come off. And then I'll have a house that looks like a house. Okay, so that's the end. And there's the view down the valley from the road, looking sideways down past my house. And the other view up towards the village. So it just rocks, man. It just rocks. Okay, so I've got to end somewhere. Let's end on my house. Okay, Jesus be with you, and hope you enjoyed the video. Bye. Adios. Paalam.